be the champion down the line? Well, that is a question that we're going to pose. But for now, let's head on to the Dusty Dunes. It's Miramar for game number 2 of the day.
Ooh, here we go, here we go, here we go. Another Miramar game to kick everything off. I'm excited as our last one was just ended on a calm note, but the middle section was banging.
Yeah, I mean, that circle was very difficult for a lot. We were talking about it even before that the final 2 shifts. There really just wasn't much to play, and we saw the symptoms of that with a lot of teams falling early. But this one, at least, playing path a lot more even for the teams.
We've been getting a lot of these just very hefty diagonals, right? Just cutting in directly across from everything. It's been very, very peculiar. As we've been getting a lot more north-souths in a lot of the qualifiers and whatnot, but this time around, it's just so directed in pathing.
Yeah, but really the thing that's been hurting a lot of these teams, Matt, is these hard shifts have been absolutely brutal. We have not had, I feel like almost every other shift has been a hard shift, whether it's been to the south, it's been somewhere to the east. It's just been in areas that have been difficult for the teams to navigate, especially with, you know, how strong these lobbies are. That exacerbates the problem of really not that much space to play.
See if we'll see any mix-ups based off of the drops here, but it looks like I think everybody's kind of cemented in and comfortable. Everybody knows where they're going, especially in a plane path like this. We might see some awkward stretches, but that's going to be about it.
Yeah, and even looking at a team like Sonics as they drop here, like it does look like Mime has adjusted off that last drop as they've had some issues, obviously losing him in the last game, and so he's going to adjust, and that's going to be smart from them. They don't want to lose someone early, especially when they had a decent position here in that last game on the western edge in order to hold something. So as we now look at this, we also see question mark very far to the north in Torre, as Petrichor will be the benefactors of this circle as it's going all the way pretty much on El Azhar.
Yeah, finally we don't have ourselves heading over into the south. We're getting some different spice. We kind of talked about this one, though, during the qualifiers as we've got the Death Star Trench coming in, but this definitely has a more southern lean, more in commitment to it. But the way these circles are going, I don't even know, dude. We could end up going up hanging next to Tierra Blanca.
Yeah, this is very similar to one of the first games we saw in group stages, right? When Tai Lu actually had that drop in and the emergency pickup, and they were able to win that game. So this one a little more southern leaning. There is a massive kind of ridge there to play on the south side near Death Star Trench, but it's going to be interesting to see if we actually do shift towards that very difficult area of play.
Trying to keep an eye on a couple of our moving factors early in the Expendables as well as Cerberus. Expendables already kind of making a shift in to see if they can find something involved in all of the kind of craziness as they're going to be cutting directly across path and coming out. Tai Lu, who's been much more quiet after the kind of Expendables situations in mid-games, is I was specifically in these as well. So I'm going to be... we expect more out of them after the group stage, right? This is not where we were expecting them to be.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, with the strength of this lobby, I did maybe think that they would run into some struggle. Obviously, Longs, Shen have been doing an amazing job for Tai Lu, but again, the little mistakes that potentially would have worked out for them there, definitely being punished much more vigilantly here in this lobby. So we'll have to see if they can kind of find their footing a little bit. They're not doing terrible. I mean, they're in 11th. They should be able to recover here. The team has done very well to adapt for themselves. We now look over towards Gen G, another team that's been, you know, kind of fighting their way up, currently sitting in the top 8, as they're going to be sending up a nice little emergency pickup for themselves, Matt.
I mean, this is one that you're going to be taking, right? This is a good one for them. They're so far away. This is the whole reason this exists, right? Whenever the circle is the complete opposite side of the map and you don't want to deal with anything, just go, okay, we'll just jump in. There's also a lot of very interesting positions that they can drop into, given the fact that there is the curve in the wall itself. They could almost just land backs against the wall and walk in.
They can even go all the way on the east side if they really want to and kind of avoid a lot of the teams fighting there towards the center. But yeah, a lot of options for them as we now see Tai Lu, the team we were just talking about. Tan Vu has been amazing, but Shen will find the trade.
I mean, this is just Expendables doing what Expendables loves to do in this earlier section of it, but Shen, who's just been so hot right now, finding himself some capabilities working with this. Getting some assistance is now coming in, but reinforcements on both sides as it looks like this is going to be a committed fight this early.
And for good reason. This is a beautiful compound for these teams to try to take, as Shen will find Duck Juice with that nade. And Tai Lu is holding their ground against the team that very much has been winning almost every single team fight that they've been in. Only one knock though on the side of Tai Lu is Delwyn doing the best that he can. The nade right on top of him, and he will get knocked.
Just so clean in defense right now. 755 down at the directed time, but with this, just pick up a couple more. Oh, yeah, come after me in the early game. I see how it is.
And now he's got himself an ump. Very limited ammo.
Hey, well, if you're living in a world with a Tommy gun, you know, you follow it in.
Sure.
You want to pair them
Same
together.
ammo type, so why not?
Yeah, yeah.
As this one's calmed down, it does look like, yeah, Tai Lu will be the winners of this fight. And the reason they were fighting for, again, for this position, it's very strong in the circle. It gives them a great foothold as far as rotations, as well as just a nice position now, especially if they get the shift. As Shen Yim's just going to finish that one off as well. Nice little point for him, and 3 points away of Tai Lu. Beautiful start.
Boy, did you see Flood spin back around on that whenever he saw it. 777 now making his run across. As trying to see if he can hit Emmy, but Emmy doing a good job on dodging the bumper cars and going to survive.
Yeah, definitely some frustration there as the Expendables made the right decision as far as that compound goes, but their timing was just, it was just a little short as Tai Lu was already there, and so they will fall. It's actually the first game I've really seen the Expendables kind of fall early, this early, I will say. They have been amazing so far.
And it's not a surprise whenever you look at how Shin has been competing, but with that, that does mean the fact that Tai Lu's kind of in a very, I guess, peculiar spot. All considered on their loot, you can kind of see what Shin's working with right now, scouting out everything. The 2X on the ump is got some range to it, but not the way he wants, I would say.
Definitely not what he wants.
It's not the meta loadout,
for the timing,
right?
but you know what? It's good enough, right? They've got themselves a nice position, and they should be able to kind of build off of that. At the very least, get some loot as well.
Seeing most of our teams now starting to cut in. Gen G doing their airborne approach right now. Petrichor Road a bit lower up inside of all of this one is now Sonics. Look like they're also going to be coming in on that Bandita line. Nobody really around them. What closest team to them is going to be opposite side of Minas Generalis. So depending on how they choose to path into this one. But hey, Petrichor Road is going to be on the landing point where we see Gen G trying to go for. And they kind of opted a bit more into the outskirts using the wall. But good spray coming out from Mill. Going to take down a DG.
Petrichor going to find that nice knock there on a DG. He's not just flushed yet, so the possibility of a res is on the table here, Matt, but Petrichor doing their best to hold here.
Slow cook, wait to see if anybody's going to be coming in on the approach, you know, get the nades prepped out on it. EJ, you can see not feeling too comfortable over here. PO also having to be back up on that hillside, defend in and look towards where Falcons are going to be coming in at. Petrichor Road now just doing a full regroup as this has become much more awkward. EG trying to see if maybe he can creep into this one, but Gen G's already got control over the compound to the south, and it's going to be Falcons with that, I guess, more vertical support coming in play.
Yeah, Falcons are realizing that there is now an opportunity here for some kills as they're overlooking here the fight between Petrichor and Gen G, and this one is going to be a slow burn though, because both teams, or actually all three teams I should say, realistically it's just Petrichor and Gen G don't necessarily want any issues or don't want to lose anyone early, I should say.
And with the way that we see sightlines come into play, Falcons predominantly is going to be able to see what's set up with Petrichor Road rather than what's going to be going on with anything that Gen G is trying to make. PO's playing the opposite side of that hill away, so can't be seen too well. Taman as well as DG playing in that lower area. DG does get res after getting knocked because he was low enough to the ground whenever he got knocked that it didn't lead to just an instant dropout, which is extremely beneficial on that Gen G approach. But now you can see another set flying overhead as it is going to be D plus Kia. We're going to have to keep an eye out and see where they're going to go for their drop in. Most of our teams definitely playing into that southern area of Death Star Trench, and there's no surprise. As 17 Gaming and Sonics, yet again, just right next to each other. It doesn't matter where you go. These two teams, man.
They just can't get rid of each other, or they just can't separate as Sha Wu is going to find a nice knock on a Huid there, and this fight is just happening so early.
Let's see if we can, looks like Sonics are wanting to slow it down just a bit. Go ahead, regroup, defend in. 17 Gaming now knowing who's on the other side of it. And I don't necessarily want to say that it's a rivalry yet, more just a bad blood situation between these two squads.
It's pretty much a rivalry at this point, especially because both teams like to drop central. We'd seen what happened before when Sonics had contested 17 and Pachiki Picado, but Tiggleton now going to find the knock onto Little Ghost, and so this is going to be the advantage on them if they want to push the pace. But look, on the south side of this map, Danawa.
Danawa creeping in, going to be very, very complicated. Now the shots are going to start coming into Sonics. Tiggleton, Shrimsy wide out in the open, now going to be moving a bit more aggressive with a couple of those shots, probably giving away what's going to be going on. Little Ghost now being entirely flushed out. Does mean that Sonics do have the man advantage inside this fight, but you can see it is going to be Danawa that is slowing down so much of what they're trying to accomplish. Bouncing for smoke to smoke, using the wall around the outside is...
At 249.
Dude, I'm just a simple man. I see an LMG and it just makes me happy.
I love the M24. Back in the day when it was a crate weapon, it was actually my favorite gun in the entire game.
It's still kind of, it's like,
it's still good. Don't get me wrong. It's still solid. But
like,
when
I
it was,
know there's all the math and there's everything else, but it's just like you get it in your hands, you just feel like you could just walk down an entire team.
It's still a very good gun, especially if you get a nice little butt stock on it there and just pop a red dot or even a 3x. You prone with that bad boy. Oh, chef's kiss.
See where the circle's going to go. Center up.
Chef's kiss. This is even. You know what they deserve? I would say the teams deserve somewhat of a decent shift, right? It's just going to be more central. Death Star trench, as you call it, is not going to be in, so that's going to be very nice for these teams. They're not going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot more into that junkyard hillside. I actually really also like this area because you've got that curve and ravine that kind of comes through this and makes for a very interesting area to play. There's still a lot of verticality inside of it, but it makes for, it's very, very harsh in some areas. So a team can actually huddle down into the side of it in certain areas, as well as provide different pathing options. We're finally going to see a bit more of this fight continuing out, but instead, let's go over to the Gen G Petrichor Road fight.
Yeah, this fight's been going on for quite a while. We saw the team of Gen G kind of drop in, Petrichor doing their best to kind of hold, but Mill is going to fall here, Matt, and this is now down to a 3v3.
Slow and steady wins the race, as it looks like that's what Gingy's trying to go for at the time. But Throble's going to come out, burst right over Taman's head, not take him out entirely. But here comes a push. Petrichor Road thinks that maybe they got more damage than they thought, but instead, just the back flank going to be enough. Taman gets a knock on one side of it, looks in, doesn't know where to look for the other one, and Pio now having to come down, be the hero for his squad, or be the hero and just trying to retreat. And it looks like that might be the smarter option.
And the problem was Pio could just not get any form of cover for his team sitting on that ridge because of the position that we see from Emmys, from the Falcons, and it just once more looks like some disjointed communication coming out of the Gen G boys.
And Pio gonna step away. T5 did hear this. They are on the opposite side of this cliff though, so not much they can really do except for maybe catch Pio if he opts into going down. But I mean, look at this. Why would you leave here? If you're a solo, this is exactly where you want to be.
Well, there's really nowhere else he can go. But yeah, he does have something to play for now. He can just kind of prone up and kind of hunker down. But yeah, Petrichor doing a good job of recovering that fight, and they desperately need to just get some momentum going because they're one of those teams as well that we were talking about coming into this, looked very strong, and even though they find themselves in winner's bracket, they have been struggling.
This is a very mixed up situation, as we can see that with Gen G now having to retreat out of position. We still have the Sonics 17 fight that's been very, very protracted at this stage. H-Win goes for a good flank into it, gets knocked on a one, gets the second one. H-Win just absolutely pulls apart what 17 Gaming was trying to do. Remember the fact that we already had one member down and out in 17. So if Sonics can get this res, it is going to be a full four-man united front versus a solo remaining in 17.
A beautiful recovery there coming out from Sonics as Twin comes up huge. He gets a nice little double there, but they are facing Xiaobei. And we know that Xiaobei has been an absolute force to be reckoned with here on the field as he's just slowly going for those angles, but they do hear him, and now Flash gonna come out. Can he actually do anything here as he's gonna swing around? But no, the Sonics just hold fast and they will eliminate 17 Gaming.
Finally ending a fight that has been going on for so long, getting control over a compound, and now in Sonic's fashion, you just can't wait for the next circle to pop and go up next to Azahar. So all of that work was just to make sure to get rid of 17 Gaming and not even to get comfortable for too long. No real other fights happening right now, just kind of counter moves. A couple of teams starting to lean into a bit more of a 2-2 split and venturing out to see if they can get some more information. Danawa being one of the key factors in that in the south is they're kind of eyeing that Tyloo line. They do have Navi on one point. LG also doing kind of something similar to the south as the circle actually does shift to the southwest. So Sonics going to be rewarded for finally finishing out that fight.
Sonics with definitely hugely rewarded here with that position on the southwest. You also see LG with a nice spot. We kind of touched upon the circle map, but we really didn't get to talk about it. There's actually a lot to play here. It's a lot of different ridges, a lot of different elevations now. Speaking of elevation, we see Theraton 5 now going for an emergency drop, which they have been using very liberally and very successfully. This is a really fun circle to play because we haven't seen Junkyard in quite a while.
How do they find so many of these things?
I don't know, actually, it's a good question.
It's not like they're extremely plentiful, because I was talking to a couple of players like, okay, how often are you guys countering them? They're like, I don't know, about once every 3 games. Theraton 5, it's like, we've got 2 every game.
Yeah, 2, exactly, 2 every single game. So they're actually going to drop right onto the position here of LG. And LG was actually moving out, so they're just finding themselves here. Snaker's going to start off with a knock.
And going to be a quick turn back around into this one as T5 has 2 of their members down, at least getting some vengeance. Flood, remember, he was stretching out. We were talking about this a second ago. Going on with Dano. Kick starts way up next to Dano right now, so T5 just cuts right in between LG, takes out one of their players, and they're having to like figure out, okay, how do we respond? Do we even go back down?
Back off, yeah.
Yeah, like they wanted to go for this Dano fight. That's what they were setting up for.
Exactly.
And this was just poor timing for them.
They were setting up actually quite well for that fight against Dano, but it's so hard to be like, all right, guys, we're setting up for the fight. We're getting this great position. Let's all of a sudden worry about a full 4-man dropping in on us, right? It's something that you would generally not think about before. So now that timing, as you said, was just very unfortunate for LG. But again, T5 just using those pickups so well.
And Snakers was so committed into defense, he didn't go for the flush, and that means that all of T5 is going to get rezzed and capable of refortifying. This is what they do.
Yeah. But I will say, though, LG have recovered pretty well. For that, all intents and purposes, they managed to get 3 out, and they now have a position where they don't, they're not in threat of being third-partied or really getting shredded. They do need to find a way to get Flood out, though, somehow safely.
Moving factors that we kind of got to keep an eye on. We've got Falcons that are going to come to the north. You can see that DK is getting a bit more, I guess, close to this Petrichor line from that high vantage point, kind of where we were seeing PO playing from just one moment ago. Question Mark is going to be playing a bit more to the north and west of this position as Dante's going to be regrouping over there. So not the cleanest of capabilities for now, but at least a home to work with, as D plus Kia does have a lot of vision on the circle from here, but it is just such an awkward point because you know they're not going to be able to stay here, and they've got now a team on every single vector of escape.
That's definitely going to be the biggest issue for them, as finding a rotation is not only did they have QM, as you were mentioning, but Petrichor as well as FaZe definitely looking at this as well. So going to be very difficult for them to find, you know, a footing here without fighting. They're basically going to have to fight. There's no way D plus Kia can contest that. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, on the southwest, Sonics have so much area to play, and even with this shift, they should be able to find something here, even if it's just to the southeast.
But remember that ravine we were talking about a moment ago? That is the key component inside of the circle.
Now.
It's just going to be cutting right through this. Navi's going to have a lot of vision on what's going to be going on. The junkyard area, we all know that's ridiculously complex, but it's going to be very, very weird to navigate. This is got actually probably enough dips for all of these teams to have somewhere, but not really at the same time. Like they're gonna have to fight for them.
Yeah, not comfortably at all. As we now look at this fight here on the northeast between Question Mark, D plus Kia, Petrichor, all of these teams will need to find a way to rotate in, but realistically, they still also have to contend with FaZe, who have now consolidated here on the north side, on the high ground ridge, and they're going to be able to dictate pretty much every fight that happens on that side of the circle, Matt.
And FaZe just kind of gets to sit referee. They don't get to be too involved on this hillside fight, but whoever wins it is going to have to move down. It's going to take a while. Remember, Blue Zone is going to be coming in just one moment, so there's not a lot of time to kind of rest, feel comfortable in what's going to be going on. LG already kind of pathing more into that Tyloo positioning. They're stepping away from that T5 Danoa fight, as Danoa is moving much more aggressively to the center of the circle where Na'Vi is going to be. Sonics kind of stretching along that western front, but we talk about all of this movement. We have the LG potential of a fight versus Tyloo, but then there's the D plus Kia, there's Petrichor, there's QM, all that to the north. Yeah, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, the good thing, though, for LG, as we just touched upon them real quick, watching this fight between Petrichor and D plus Kia, is that they only have to contend with one team right now. Not so much the case here, as Summer is going to fight in two, one with the nade, one with a nice spray down, and D plus Kia know that they're in a rough spot.
This is a very tricksy place to kind of navigate as well. All of these crates make it very hard to know exactly where you're going to be needing as you're coming in. Plus, also leads for some guerrilla fighting, as you can kind of bounce from position to position. And even these people in the high ground positions where we see Americano and Nuda playing from, they can't keep a consistent feed on what's going to be going on, as Petrichor Road is doing a great job just bouncing from cover to cover to make it as awkward and uncomfortable for D plus to really kind of know what's going on here.
Yeah, as you said, those angles were difficult. But speaking of difficult here now, it's going to be Falcon stuck in a ridge, and Shed is going to find two, and they just got absolutely destroyed by Tyloo.
Here it comes LG. They were wanting that fight to go on for a smidgen longer, but instead just going to be charging down. Also, Na'Vi gets some idea that's going to be happening, taking some shots in. That stack up could be a problem.
Could be the same
if we see Kickstart decide that he wants to go for this, they're continuing on the path. They may prep up a nade. He has an idea on where that fight's going to be happening at. Meanwhile, you can see the duo for D plus Kia having to walk down into just death. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
this is not going to go well.
This is not great for them at all. Petrichor is very aware that there's going to be two members, but they actually might be starting to move, which could open the window, but they're stuck. They're stuck in the vehicle.
Oh, no! Of all the ways, the curve. They couldn't make it around the crates. It was too
much
tight of an
girth.
angle. Oh, the tankiness of that truck providing so much.
Those are very big. It was very hard. As again, they're very wide. So Chewy now is going to be one of the last members finding himself in, and that's so unfortunate for Petrichor because that hold against D plus Kia was solid.
Yeah, and now remember we were talking about FaZe and how they're just going to kind of wait and kill whoever wins. I guess Petrichor won, but this is just going to be more of who gets to feed on the people coming down the hillside. The circle pops. It does move more into the ravine, more into Junkyard, which means even FaZe now going to have to move.
I don't even remember. I don't know. This circle is so weird. Just centering up, as you said, on that ravine. It's just such an open space. There is quite a bit to play around, but most of the teams have already taken up position where they would want, or really where there's good cover.
This is just mutually assured destruction at this stage between what's going on with the remnants of Petrichor Road. This is, can I get at least some points before I have to walk down into whatever's going to be going on over there? As, again, Na'Vi now getting more and more vision. Remember we were talking about how they could kind of see everything that's going to be just around the ravine itself. That's becoming more and more complicated. Cooknade, though, could be big. Gonna read on one side. No! Going for the jump shot.
Yeah, which Ixleft has been very good with the jump shot. We saw them win a game there earlier, but look at this. I mean, Ixleft also just very much stuck in FaZe, just waiting for these members to come out and try to get points as they have been flexing on that north, finding as much room to play as they could. And back to LG, they need to get rid of Tai Lu.
Trying to fish with Dynamite right now. This is a full gate-kept position. Kickstart is going to go down. Na'Vi yet again just showing their influence on the circle. And yeah, oh no! The smoke! They couldn't quite see it cleanly.
Oh,
that's catastrophe right there. Is now just Flood. Where are you going to go? There's nowhere that's going to be helpful right now.
Man.
Maybe you can sneak something around, but remember that FaZe line that we were talking about, even if you get away from Na'Vi? Yeah, that's
that just sucks, man, because look, Flood potentially got a position here, especially if they had two, maybe even three. Even just two here would have been nice working up these bridges to fight, but yeah, I mean, it happens. I can't say that I haven't run over a teammate at a very crucial moment. Yeah, but the smokes made it difficult. So Flood, LG will be just down to 1.
That's why you don't smoke and drive. You don't want those distractions going on right there. FaZe now holding down the northeast. Well, I say now. Has been for a long time. QM has opted down to the bottom of the ravine itself. Tai Lu did see how Flood made that rotation. They're kind of eyeing into him. Nobody comfortable over there, though. But FaZe, with their backs up against the wall, at least do have some ways that they can play through. This is still just everything to the north and east is on some variable control over Na'Vi. And I think that's why Tai Lu is just going to opt in, creep in, get to this spot, and just kind of hunker down. And that was that pulled so close.
That spot, though, is, I mean, as you can see, FaZe has Overwatch onto this quite nicely with great sidelines, and Flood is going to be the one that's actually hidden from FaZe's ire right now as we go to the next shift, and this one goes center, Matt. There is nothing. Bro. There is virtually nothing to play in the center of this circle. As Question Mark now have been quiet on the north side, still find themselves in with a position where they could potentially gatekeep the west with the help of FaZe.
At least it's kind of fair because nobody has anything, right? Even Na'Vi going to have to leave their compound. The south, though, is just, it's a mess, dude. Sonics realize what's going on in the circle, going to be moving more aggressively into what's going to be happening with Danoa, but they're going to be bumping into T5. Vehicle's just going to come rolling down into this one, and T5 doing a good job on defending up, picking up a couple of these Sonics members, but Danoa now wanting to get involved. They're shifting heavily down into the south, and let's be honest, nobody's going to come out of this one clean.
No, but T5 doing an amazing job there of defending against the push from Sonics. Pretty much the only play Sonics had, so I don't blame them for it, but again, what a hold. T5 have been just so damn impressive in the winners bracket.
I'm curious to see what Cerberus is going to do because it looks like they hear some gunfights. See if maybe they can pick up some more. Yeah, they're heading this direction. They're going to
the only play they really have.
Pick up your kill points before you have to jump into the no man's land, right? That's the way to do it because at least maybe you can secure 2 to 3 more points, whereas walking out there is just going to be absolute death. Look at all the utility coming out from T5. They're moving forward, but here come the throwables on the side. We can see Cerberus now starting to find angles to work with Danoa just having to thin, and T5 is going to be coming in. This is just getting messy upon messy.
And FaZe even dictating a little bit of this fight as a knock came out from Vex and a bolt and a huge grenade as Cerberus now trying to get some points out of the chaos.
I mean, even this, Na'Vi was kind of eyeing more into the circle, and here's all of this that's going to be going on. This is, though, where Cerberus wants to be playing from. This is the best of a bad situation kind of thing. They know where Dana was going to be playing. The problem is they can't press down into it. Now, finally, with T5 being eliminated, if they're going to make their aggressive play into Danawa and just maybe drop a nade, look down, if they peek that hillside, it's going to be so easy to pick up a couple of these shots. The issue is QM can see them if they do that. FaZe can see some of what's happening over here. Let's not even forget Daytrade off on their own independent angle. There's so little cover. People are just taking, you can see everything in this.
Yeah, Na'Vi, everyone's eyes have been drawn to the southwest here as Cerberus will survive, be the last remaining team, but they still need to find something to play. As example is going to be naded by FaZe, and they desperately would love to get rid of Na'Vi so they have complete control of the east side, Matt.
This little bit of a hill is the only thing that you can kind of play to navigate with some type of cover inside. This is why FaZe trying to hold it. And for as much damage as FaZe has been doing to everybody, haven't been able to pick up a kill yet. But that being said, the control of this game in the north has been theirs.
Yeah, they've done a great job of dictating a lot of the rotations of the teams around them, making sure that they have complete control, as you said. And the last team they really have to get rid of here is Na'Vi, as they're pretty much stuck here in the edge. And FaZe, again, have done a wonderful job of taking control. Meanwhile, we do see Cerberus finding some form of cover here in the circle as we go to one of our last shifts into phase 7, but again, there's just nothing to play. Look at this shift, Matt.
And I want to point out, remember the ravine itself. QM made the committal down into this early. There was a couple of compounds. They've been kind of hunkered down in. While all of this hill-to-hill fighting has been going on, they've just been kind of sneaking into these circles pretty clean, pretty comfortable.
They've been doing a good job for themselves as we now look at the team of Daytrade, the trio, Belmoth, Norins, and Puchos. Just, again, they're using whatever utility, but they know they have to crash. They have to crash in the position here of question mark. Doing so with a knock would be much better than doing so without one. So they're looking for anything, but that circle is going to start pushing in about 20 seconds, and they know they're running out of time.
So Daytrade with eyes on QM as they're trying to regroup now. Presently, QM in a 2-2 split. Two of their members inside the circle. FaZe has two of their members inside the circle, with the other two kind of trying to keep out the remaining members of Na'Vi, who have one member that's Mel presently inside the circle. Cerberus being more of the X factor into this as Daytrade gonna make the commit down and hits the side of that rock as they're coming through. This is gonna be a lot of damage. Finally gonna have to jump out. Puchus is gonna go down, and that little bit of a firefight kind of kicked off everything for a second, and then immediately it stops yet again as Daytrade had shots coming at him, Cerberus had shots coming at him. Moss is going to go down, FaZe is going to spot it out, and then it's going to be the next team that's going to have to move in Cerberus to kind of reignite everything.
Yeah, Cerberus with a lot of vision over this, but the problem is they're not in the circle. Himas has gone down and Duck by now the last one, desperately looking for some form of points they can find, as they're going to get a double there. Correxy just doing so much damage, and Na'Vi will fall.
That was just a well-done flank onto this, just being patient. FaZe realizing, hey, look, we've got control, we've got the cover, we know where Na'Vi is, we know what they're going to be fighting for. Let's just play this slow, steady, and make sure we keep the control inside of it. Now, Duckmine, what are you going to do? Because that's the real question we're looking at. Everybody else is kind of in the circle. Duckmine, do you feed it to the zone? Do you get in the vehicle?
I mean, he's going to go for something. Whatever he does here, I mean, we're not going to fault him for it. He's got his back between a rock and a hard place.
There is no good answer. There's no bad answer.
Yeah, exactly. He's just going to do something, maybe get some points at this point. You know, the fact that they've stayed alive and gained this many placements is already good enough. So he might just concede this point to the blue, maybe go for a knock on his way down, get some damage, but he is going to fall. Actually, Fell First will find him. I have to say, though, FaZe is just coming into this day playing immaculately.
We're joking about in between rounds, right? It's technically some Sunday somewhere in the world right now. As FaZe with the high ground. Phil First going to be moving in. That's going to be Daytrade eliminated. No cover to be had for them. Now, question mark. On the aggressive side of this, Phil First kind of navigating right in between the duo setup. But Jeems, man, Jeems is just reading this perfectly. He knows exactly where the movements are going to be coming out from. He's already in that low ground. Set the trap. That's going to be one already down.
Nice counterplay there from Jeems. As you pointed out, he had that nice off angle. Phil First was trying to find some form of a knock, but Vex will also find Dante, and they are just dismantling question mark.
Question marks, only two remaining members, not even inside the safe zone. Just look, what do? You're just out in the open. You just got to fight your way into it. Best of luck, at least gets a knock on a one. He knows where Jeems is. He's got to get Jeems down if he wants to make something happen here. But what? Corexy on the other side, with the distraction of how long this is taking, Gustav's going to be able to get the res over over onto Fex, so it's kind of a rinse and a reset, and Best of Luck has no options while James is here.
And you just saw Fex there in the corner of your screen just kind of yawn, pick himself up. He's like, it's a 3v1, boys. I may have fallen, but it's all going to be fine, as that is it. A second game for FaZe. Not as many kills. That being said, the amount of damage they did and the amount of rotations they were able to dictate from the north, so impressive from the boys.
I mean, it's like, okay, look, I'm like a play-by-play caster. It's my job to get super hyped, super excited, but it's just so efficient.
Yeah.
That you know how it's gonna go. They've read it, they've taken control, they know exactly every single angle to play from. That James flank was just gorgeous to watch. It was just, they're the pinnacle of what you would want to study right now on how to handle in-game circles that are this awkward.
Yeah, that in-game circle, the way that they handled it was very well done. And again, you pointed out, James's counter angle there to Phil first was instrumental, because if he was able to get up higher on that hill, that would have caused many issues there for FaZe, but just so ready for everything. And another game they close out back to back.
It was a very interesting game to kind of watch as it developed out, because we ended up with that ravine being such a central focus so early. We almost had like two different circles that were happening at the same time on opposing sides.